Hello, hello, welcome. I am very excited to be with you today. This is day one of the new program. It's always exciting to finish one up. We just finished Strong for Summer, so good job if you got that done with all of us. Feeling strong, feeling energetic, conditioned, lots of endurance and energy. And then we're going into our fall season. There's lots to think about in terms of holidays um, coming up around the corner. So we have 12 weeks to get us to the start of winter, and I figure why not? We'll just continue with the cycle of the seasons. I love the concept of the seasons. So fall is so giving and replenishing, brings forth the fruit of its labor from the spring and summer. So anyway, why not? We'll just go with it. So for these 12 weeks, I am not super great at naming or labeling things. I don't really like cheesy labels. It could have been fit fall, functional fall, fantastic fall, whatever. But what I really want to focus on is integrating stability and mobility points throughout the body where they should be, getting better flexibility and range of motion through joints, and feeling continually more energetic and more vibrant and more alive and possibly younger at the end of these 12 weeks, not just beat up from a lot of kick-ass workouts. So I'm doing a lot of research along the way, studying a lot, investigating a lot, and using myself as a guinea pig. And so we're going to work through all of this together and continue to work out hard, build muscle, build strength. Um, but we're also going to be working quite a lot through form and function and mobility. So there's going to be a lot of talking throughout all the videos, some new terminology or new ways of cueing things that I'm trying to find to just help kind of set in some of the things that I want to make sure that we all, myself included, are getting the concept of. So let's go ahead and start day one. Let's get rolling with our mobility and with our strength. We are going to work on legs today. um, Specifically legs because I want to build the basis and the foundation of contracting the core. A lot of us have been working on that a lot. You may have been doing it for a long time. You may just be getting started, but we're going to kind of work from that framework of really developing a super strong core and then focusing on the stability of the low back. So we have stable points and mobile points throughout the whole kinetic chain of our body. So we have a stable point that should be going on through our shoulders, right? The scapular retraction, pulling those shoulder blades back and down. And our rotation actually comes from the middle spine. So go ahead and put your arms up in a goalpost for me. Plant your hips right over the heels. Your whole stance is super important. Contract the core and kind of tuck your butt, right? So flex your butt cheeks. You should feel the pelvis neutralize. And then you're going to keep your chest and your shoulders mostly straight ahead, and the hips definitely straight ahead. You're going to rotate the body, or your head is straight ahead. I totally said that wrong. Your head is straight ahead. Your shoulders are stable, right? So they're not twisting, but the mobility and the movement is coming through the middle of the spine. So the hips stay super still. Your head is super still, and you're rotating through there. So that is thoracic mobility. So being mobile through the middle part of your spine, because we want that low back to be super stable. Then we have mobility in the hips. So while we're moving the hips around, we want to continue to keep that low back stable. And then you also have stability in the knees. They should be fixed and firm and stabilized. They just have that hinge. Your elbows are the same, that hinge joint. They really need to just be going forward and back, not wonking out and in. That comes in at your ankle. Okay, so we are going to work on stability through the low back, core contraction, scapular contraction. So we need to have an open chest and a supple and flexible and mobile middle back, that thoracic spine. So first off, we are going to start hands and knees. But before we do that, we're going to do a little wrist warm up. So I don't know if any of you guys have wrist issues. I generally don't, but I want to keep it that way. I used to have wrist issues. I really developed some, I think, helpful practices that keep them happy. I love planking. I know some of us aren't able to plank because of shoulder and scapular issues, and that's totally fine. But for those of us who can, we want to keep those wrists happy. And even still, your wrists can wear out slinging around weights as well. So just rotate them around all different directions. And then go ahead and plant your hands on the floor, shoulders over the wrists, knees under the hips, and we're going to continue to warm up those wrists by hinging back. Okay, hit yourself into kind of a high child's pose. Now here I want you to go ahead and grab around that core. So activate all through the torso, slide the shoulder blades down and connect into the belly. This is not just a swinging back and forth to warm up the wrists. We are already setting in the core. We're already stabilizing through that low spine. Okay, so hinge yourself forward, bring your shoulder heads as far forward over the wrists as you can. Big spread wide fingertips, and then you're going to hinge back. So even though this is stretching my fingers, my hands, my wrists, I want to open my chest, pushing the chest through the arms, and I want to focus on stabilizing that low back, right? So when I get forward, I don't want to have my old cow back. Keep the belly sunk in tight. Think about a neutral pelvis, okay? So you're not tipping forward or tipping back. Your belly stays strong and you're in control of the core and that low back. All right, we're going to come up and stay forward, and then I just want you to hinge to the right and then hinge to the left. Now, as you get going here, it's easy to start to lose the contraction of the core. Let that low back get out of stabilization. Okay, so our movements want to come through that middle back and through the hips, right? But keep the low back stable. No twisting there. Turn your hands to face away from each other. Keep rocking side to side, then turn them to point back at your knees. If any of this doesn't feel right, you just stop. Don't go that far into it. Point your hands back left and right, and then back to the front, and then sit back and roll them out one more time. Okay. So we've talked about that core contraction, stabilization of that low back, and now we're going to continue on with that method. So once we're back in our hands and knees, I want you to root, go ahead and put the tops of your feet into the ground, root your knees into the ground, root your hands into the ground, and then you're trying to find torque, okay? So you're sliding your hands, it's like you're trying to screw them into the ground, popping them into place. So the pinky, right, pinky's twisting toward the right, left pinky twisting toward the left without actually moving. That's going to dial those elbows back toward your knees and give you stability in the shoulders. Okay, find that contraction through the core. Keep flexion there. Your low back is solid. And then I want you to just lift the right arm. So we're going to lift the right arm and see if we could keep everything stable. Keep contracting through the core. Put the arm back down. Left arm comes up. So you're not shifting forward. You're not shifting back. You're not shifting left or right. Everything holds strong in the core. Put the left hand down. Now this is going to be more of a kicker. We're going to lift the left knee up. Okay? So of course your body is going to shift to the right. I felt mine shift. Try to level it back off. So we're using the core, stability in the low back. Set your knee down, and then we're going to go to the right. Lift the right knee. Keep that torque in your hands so the elbows are pointing back at your toes, and then level off. Shift your hips back. We're going to go back into that child's pose, keeping the belly strong, keeping that low back stable. Set those shoulder blades in. Spread your fingertips nice and wide. All right, we're going to come back up. We've done these guys before. We're going to go a good old bird dog. Okay, but we're taking in all of the things that we've built upon for now. So fingertips super wide, shoulders over the wrists. Make sure, literally, really, please make sure they're up over the wrists, okay? This back here is not over the wrist. We want to get up there. Slide those shoulder blades back and down. So that's where you're going to get the flexion through the back to help support. And then you want to grab your core. Now, this is where we want to get the mobility in the hips, stability through the low back. Okay, extend your right arm straight out. Extend your left leg behind, but let your toe stay on the ground. So feel the hips level off. Now, lift your back left leg and see if you can keep everything still and stable. Put your right hand down, put your left leg down. Go to the other side. Left arm extends. Put your right leg back. Keep the toe on the ground. Now level off the hips. You can feel it. Get that leveling. Hip stays over the knee. Lift the right leg. belly strong. Do not lose the flexion of the core. Put everything down and then lose your low back. Okay, so we're going to go a little bit quicker side to side, but I want you to really take your brain set into all the setup that we've been talking through. So right arm forward, left leg back, flex into the core, slide shoulder blade down, tug that low belly in, keep the hips level, and shift. Inhale, lift, contract, flex, that back toe points down, and then switch. Inhale, lift, belly strong, tuck, flex, contract, drop. Other side, inhale, lift, watching to see that you're not leaning to the side. Extend the other side, belly strong, slide that shoulder blade down, and drop. Whenever you lift your arm, lift, keep that shoulder away from the ear. You're still keeping space. You're still keeping that torque, right? So that rotation. When you get that rotation in the arm, you can get that shoulder blade down. Tug your belly button up and back. Belly stays firm. Drop it down. Inhale to lift. Drop that left hip so that you're level. And drop, extend. I'm building heat here. You should be too. So it's very, very, very similar to a plank. In fact, if you do not hold a plank, this would be a great alternate function. If you can get your bird dog holding this for the 30 seconds or 1 minute or whatever it is that we do, one more time each side. This would be great to see if you can use this as an alternate. Flexing so many muscles. Grab everything in. All right, drop it down. Hinge back into that child's pose. This is not a full rest, right? We're still contracted. I want those shoulder blades flexing in. I want those wrists strong and active, those fingertips active, your forearms and the elbows pointing down toward the ground. Okay, coming back up. Our last set here, we have two little ones. We're going to go into a bear. Okay, so instead of a plank, we're going to try to hit up a bear. I am going to get our timer on for it. Hands over, or your wrists over the hands and your knees underneath the hips. Curl those toes under. Keep that super long spine. So really find that flexion into the triceps. So the elbows, if the elbows are out wide, I don't know if you can tell, they're out wide, you're losing a lot. Everything goes up into the neck. Don't want that. Spread those fingertips, elbows pull back toward the toes. Make sure your knees are right underneath the hips. Set into the back, grab through the abdomen, ready, set, and then lift your knees barely off the ground. So pulling your hands back toward your toes toward your hands without actually moving anything. Flex into the belly, grab into your thighs, push into those hands. Keep those fingertips spread wide. You should be working here. Shaking, belly strong, hold support for that low back. 3, 2, and 1. Drop your knees, hinge back to that child's pose. Hopefully your hands are okay. If you need some help for the wrists, you can try going onto your knuckles, holding weights, or shifting into elbows. But you've got to watch that core, that low back super a lot. Okay, we're going to do a shifting bear. Okay, shoulders up over those wrists again. Lift those knees, and we're just going to shift back, pushing, keeping your knees off the ground, belly stays strong. Make sure you're not doming, rounding in the upper back, then come back forward, shoulders over wrists. Push back, stay strong, come forward, belly strong. Push back. If this is too much on your upper body, go back into the bird dog or keep your knees on the ground. Shift back and forth, child's pose, forward, or just hold the bear. Slide those shoulders down, elbows point back at your knees. I had to watch mine. Mine were starting to flare. Push that chest forward, flex it in, core strong. 2 more. Belly firm. Slide shoulders down. Last one. Come forward. 3, 2, and 1. Whew. Drop those hips, hinge back. Go ahead and uncurl your toes. Bring your hands behind you. Keep the chest open. Try to roll those shoulders back. Just drop your forehead on the ground a minute. Okay. Good warm up, good mobility set. Now we're going to move on. So we woke up the core. We learned how to stabilize the low back. We learned that we need to. Grab weight for squats. I'm going to go with a mid weight because I want to work and focus a lot on my form for the whole round as opposed to just burning my legs out. If you feel confident in your squat, feel free to go as heavy as you want. But we're going to talk through a lot of it. Okay, so you know how I was talking about torquing or turning, rotating the elbows back toward the knees when we were in our bear. We want the same thing going on with those knees, right? So I say a lot of times knees out with toes. Before we even bend to get that bell, dig into your feet, feel the knees pull wide with the toes. So it's like you're screwing your heels into the ground and you feel your knees already open. This is going to keep your knees happy a really long time. Go ahead and stand tall. Slide your shoulders back and down. Get the bracing there, bracing through the core. Remember, mobility in the hips, but our low back is solid, firm, flex. That's not where we're getting movement from. We have to support that with the core. Go ahead and drop down. Grab your kettlebell or dumbbells or whatever. I'm just going to let mine face the ground for this round. Hinge your hips back. Knees hit wide, and then come back to the top. So dig into those heels. Notice if at the bottom of your squat, you're losing the integrity of that low back. That means that you would probably be overly swaying in the low back. Okay, so if your tailbone is sticking too far back and your butt sticking out, your low back is going to sway. You're going to feel pressure in that low back. You'll also feel opening in the abdomen. So you want to keep that core strong. Pull the hips back, pull the knees back, keep the chest tall. Flex all the way to the top, grab through those glutes. Talking a lot, that means I lost my count. It's feel good though. Let's go 3 more. 3, focus. 2, you build a lot of heat if you focus on all those flexions. 1. Okay, set your weight down. Have a couple different options with the next one. It's a squat hold to jump squat. Okay, so you're going to hit up same squat we just did where it'll drop, hold your squat. Make sure those knees stay with the toes. So a lot of times when we jump squat, the knees fall in. We've got to keep them wide. So you're going to squat and hold, arms swing back, and then you explode, drop, hold. So if you don't jump, totally fine. I want you to squat and hold, and then explode, squat, hold, explode, squat. So even though your feet aren't coming off the ground, just get that hike. It'll bring our heart rate up. All right, we're going to go 10 of them. Ready, set, squat, arms come back, jump, hold. Landing is super important. Arms come back, belly strong up. 2. Going to go to 10. Sit back on those heels, swing, go. 3. Core, low back. 4. Flex in, swing. 5. Awesome. Core firm. 6. Swing those arms. Get momentum. 7. Hold. 8. Drop, hold. Ready. 9. Core strong. Keep that pelvis central. Oh, I lost my jump. 10. Woo. All right. Shake that out. And then depending on how you feel, you can shift to your heavier weight. I'm also working on this, is watching my form, just dragging weights into place, right? Most people don't get injured at the gym or in the workout. It's whatever they're doing moving boxes, gardening, whatever, after. Okay, so we're going to talk through a deadlift. I have my heavier kettlebell, and if you have a hard time getting the chest to stay open and the shoulder blades back and down, I saw this little technique. You can take your hands and wrap behind the horns. It does really help open the chest and slide the shoulder blades down. Okay, so with our deadlift, toes straight ahead, knees line with toes. That same core contraction. If you go into some like movement certification courses, the deadlift is like pages long of explanations. You're bending forward and you're picking up dead weight. I don't know if any of you guys have seen, but you're supposed to get your knees low, right, and lift with your legs. Well, how often is that super duper realistic? How often do you hinge forward, pick something up, and you didn't get your butt down? Well, that's what the deadlift is here for, is to keep us safe whenever we're picking dead weight up. Toes straight ahead, knees line with toes. Don't forget that screwing of the feet into the ground, that torquing. Gotta root in. Now, make sure that your whole kinetic chain, all down the back, that posterior chain, is completely flexed and in place when you bend over to pick up your weight, okay? So my back is already engaged. My shoulders are already held down. My core, super strong. The low back is firm. So you want to have the same distance from your chest to your hips at the bottom of your hinge as you do at the top. In fact, I'll go from the side. So your neck is in neutral. Elbows slide back. We're going to go 10. Hinge forward, already core strong. Make sure that you have that flexion of the belly. Low back is firm. Come up using your glutes. Hinge forward, stretch those hamstrings, come up 2. So you just go as low as you feel comfortable with, and you have the flexibility and mobility and that middle back to keep it held down. Hinge forward, belly firm. Grab through those glutes, squeeze shoulder blades together. Hinge forward, flex. Drive through those glutes. Get into that torque. Stretch the hamstrings, press. Don't forget about your core. Make sure you're keeping stability and that low back. Last one. Awesome. Okay. Moving on, we're going to go to lunges. So we'll have a split stance in the legs. We'll need to pay super close attention that we can keep that same stability in our low back, right? So the hips have the mobility, stability through the shoulders. So a lot of times when we're moving through motions, I see a lot of like little, it's not even a lot, but just a little bit of rounded back. And it's tough. It's tough to keep those shoulders back and down, but we've got to do it. Gets us a better workout and keeps our back healthy, right? So you have to keep those connections in your chain. Okay, shoulders tall, core strong, back is stable, square off those hips. So whichever hip you have back, if you want to mirror me, your right hip is back, pull the right hip forward, pull the left hip back. Knee is getting ready to track right on top of the ankle and right with like your third and fourth toe on the foot. Slide it down so you're already in your stable position. I'm just going to hold one weight on one side because I want to be off balance. I want to have my core going strong, my chest nice and tall. So 10 each side, just a static lunge. Drop, drive right through that front heel. Lots of hip hinge in the front hip. Lots of flexion. If you're all over the place, just slow down, get the core, and then go from there. Chest tall, core strong. Feel the glute do that push. Stable in that low back. Make sure you're not rounding. You can definitely hinge over the front leg. We have 2 more, but no rounding. On the last one, from the ground, step up, drive together. Okay, switch. Go ahead, you can set your weight down, get our setup. Back leg pulls forward, front leg pulls back. Maybe you've been doing your lunges right for a long time. Good work. Otherwise, This should just take your lunge to the next level. Getting things really, really right, really locked in is going to get you way further, way more tone, and a lot safer. There's 5. Drive through the front heel. Remember, your knee tracks right on top of the ankle, right with that 3rd and 4th toe, screwing that heel into the ground. Your back leg is hardly doing any work at all. Chest tall. 2 more. Don't forget that last one. Drop, we're going to drive straight together. 1. Okay. So, staying with our little jump lunges, jump squats like we did, we're going to do an exploding lunge. So we're not doing a Mary Catherine. We're not doing a jump lunge. We are going to do an exploding lunge. So we're going to set up our lunge, keeping flexion through the core, rotation in the hips so we're squared ahead. You're going to drop to that lunge just like we did with our squat. Hold a split second. Use those arms. Jump and drop. Arm swing, jump and drop. Okay? So if that doesn't work for you, we are just going to have you lunge, explode, and then come right back. Drop and hold, explode, drop back. Maybe even, so you're going to drive to that front heel when you drive to the top, but at the top, if you want and you feel comfortable, you can push onto the toe. All right. Only if you feel like you can keep the stability in the upper back, wrap around the core, and keep that low back stable as well. Okay, ready, set, lunge and hold. Arms, 1, hold, ready, go. 3, 4. Obviously, if it bothers your knees or ankles or back at all, you need to stop. Feel free to email me. We'll try to figure what's going on. 8, 9, belly strong. 10. All right, other side. Left leg forward, right leg back. Rotate the right hip toward the front. Belly strong. Sink, ready, jump. 1, 2. When you get off the ground, you see where things want to go awry. Hold, swing. 4, 5. Keep that core going. 3 to go. 8, belly strong, chest tall. 9, keep that torque. 10. Whew. All right. Shake it out. Hinge over those legs a second. And we are going into an inchworm. Okay. So instead of walking forward and walking back, we're going to walk forward and back. If you're not able to get over your legs with straight legs, feel free to bend. And in fact, I'll bend with you this time. Shift those hips back. You want to get that flat back. So if you look like this with a rounded back, we've got to fix that. Get your legs even more open. See if you can get the back fixed flat. Then drop the hips till you can get your hands on the ground. Pushing into your back. Walk all the way forward. Oh, I'm so hot right now. That must mean a lot of muscle flexion. So if you look, I am out of my little plank position, right? My shoulders aren't necessarily over the wrist. But for this is what we want. Hands really far out, really strong core, and then you're going to inchworm, inchy in those knees. So let's pretend that I'm not able to come in with straight legs. It'll look like this, but my back is still flat. Then you're going to walk your tippy toes back out, back to that crazy long plank. Slide those shoulders in. Remember that torque, belly strong, tuck the belly, trying to keep those hips level, low back firm. And if you're tight, it looks like this. Come up, that's 1. We're going to do 5. Hinge forward, push into those hands, walk it out. Super long flex to that core, tippy toe. Okay, so I'm so sorry, I forgot to tell you, if you need an alternate, you are going to do a bird dog. Okay, so stay on your hands and knees, extend that right arm, left leg, tuck that tailbone, and just keep flexion through the back and the core. That's still totally fine. 100% awesome alternate. Push into the back, spread those fingertips wide. Belly strong, tuck that tailbone, inch warm up. Okay, so you're not just getting through the motions here. Flexing into the arms because you're pulling the elbows back toward the toes. Flexing into the back to support the neck. Flexing into that core and then keeping the low back stable. Flexing into those glutes. Flexing into the thighs. Basically everywhere. Hinge forward. This is number 4. Push into that thumb and first finger. So where you're putting all that pressure and tension on your hands is going to make a difference in the wrists. Push into those hands. Walk those toesies back. Find that big long plank. Otherwise, you're in your bird dog. Extending opposite arm and leg. Come all the way up. Tuck those hips. Last one. Slide those shoulder blades down. Hinge all the way out. Tuck, tuck, tuck. Perfect. Slide those shoulder blades down. Belly strong. What else should I say? I say slide those shoulder blades down so much. Engage the back. Flex your wings together. Where are your elbows? Point your elbows back at your toes. Belly strong. All the way back. Whew. Man, if you watch those elbows, triceps start lighting up. You're going to have some gnarly, awesome triceps. Okay, last one before we're going to plank. And then our first day of living well for our fall 2020 is over. And we're off to a fantastic start. Okay, our deadlift, shoulders back and down. Find that flexion between the shoulder blades. So find that tension in the rhomboids, lifted chest, strong core. Hinge your butt back. Now, when you go down, and I read this and I thought it made really good sense. A lot of times we just hinge forward. Once we're here, we get our set. It's actually very difficult to do. So get your set first. Push into everything, root into those legs, then hinge forward. You're already set up. You can go straight into that first deadlift. Inhale down. Exhale up. 2. Chest forward. Drive through the glutes. Squeeze your butt. Hinge it forward. Chest is tall. Don't forget to engage the core. If you lose the core, your low back is completely out of play. It's completely out of whack. You don't want herniated discs. 2, feel that low back. Stay supported. 1. Okay, how should we put it down? Still strong, firm flex. Set her there. Okay, we're going to go into a quick plank and then around the world. If you don't plank, you are going to hold a static dead bug. Meaning, low back pushes into the ground. Your arms and legs come up. You're going to hold your extension. Then when we rotate, you'll switch and hold the other direction. Okay, so I am going to set you, hold on really quick. Okay, so we're going to set up for our plank. Elbows drop down. We're going to go 30 seconds. We're going to get shoulders up over elbows. Ready, set, and go. Okay, once you're here, line your forearms, go ahead and unseparate your hands for me, right? So just push your hands into the ground. We're not going to clasp them. Get your shoulders up past that elbow crease. Walk your toes in a bit, and then again, find that flexion, that torque in through the glutes. Belly button draws back to the spine, and then you're going to find your tension, just like we did with bear. Push elbows into the mat, and then pull them back towards your toes as the toes pull towards your hands. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, this is where it's going to get a little nutty. We're going to go around the world. So this is where you'll switch your dead bug, hold, lift your left toe if you can. If you need to hold the plank, just hold the plank. Otherwise, lift your left toe and just hold. Make sure that your low back did not shift. Drop the toe, grab, tuck, brace, lift the right toe. Hold, hold, hold. Nice and tight. Okay, drop that one. Okay, we're going to go into an arm, a one arm. So grab left arm, pull it behind. I can tell I'm shifting a little bit. Try. Grab deep, flex through those quads, tuck the tailbone, and then switch. Left arm comes down, right arm comes up. Just tuck it behind your back. Get your hips as level as you can. 3, 2, and 1. Drop onto your knees. Hinge back over the hips. Extend the arms out in front of you. Now, did you let go of your core? Check in. Re-grab it. We don't have to live our lives always crazy contracting. However, that constant kind of gentle flexion, especially even engaging those pelvic floor muscles, it will do you a world of good. Keep that low back happy. It helps minimize any sort of punch that we might be have on display. Okay, go ahead, come up onto those hands and knees again. We're going to bring our left leg forward, leave the right leg where it is, and then just hinge forward to get that hip flexor stretched. Push into the hands and then drive your chest forward. Still pulling those elbows back. Get a nice little stretch through the forearms. So I definitely love stretching. I think it's extremely beneficial and helpful. I'm also learning in my research. So I'll let you know the book that I've been kind of going through and learning a lot from is called How to Become a Supple Leopard, or Becoming a Supple Leopard, by Kelly Starrett, I think. And you can get the book for yourself. I'm not sponsored by them or anything, but he has some really great ideas on mobility, and he's even more of an advocate for mobility than stretching. So that's interesting. If you feel like you've been fighting with flexibility your whole life, give it a shot. Try some more mobility. Okay, switch your legs, switches, ranges of motion, right? Bring your right leg forward, left leg back. Getting the body into those ranges of motion, especially if you're in a consistent pose called seated all day. You're driving, sitting at a desk, even stand-up desks. If you don't have core awareness and mobility in the shoulders, then you can still kind of cause some pain and mismanagement still of the back or your hip flexors. So it's all good to kind of keep in mind and keep in check. All right, hinge back, get that hamstring. I don't know about you guys, I'm dripping everywhere, even through minimal sets. So not every day will be so much talking. Don't worry, we're going to progress into just having really, really focused sets of work where we know that we have our form right, our hips in the right spot, knees in the right spot. So I don't want overuse training injuries, and that's very common. Okay, so here's a good check-in. All of us, by the end of these 12 weeks, should be able to do. All of us. Okay, so bend into your knees. You may already be able to do it. If so, just keep it up. Bend into those legs. And if you're way up here, this is where you are, way up here. Okay, heels on the ground. The wider that you get, the more space that you have. So maybe put your left hand on the ground and kind of hinge to the left, get a little lower, and then go back to the other side. If you can, slowly just kind of walk your feet in, hinge a little lower, little lower. You could use something to bring the floor to you. And then eventually, you want to get those heels all the way on the ground, dropping those hips back. Knees, where are they? Out with the toes, maybe even hands together, lifting that chest a little higher. One ear over, then the other. Okay, when we come to standing, before we do, grab the core, get your pelvis in neutral, tall upper back, and then come all the way up. Great work. Funky first day, but this is kind of what we're looking at. You guys are going to be feeling amazing and living well. Thanks for doing it with me.